Welcome to the ADJU 201 Exam 2, Chapter 4 Study Guide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen here and we'll walk right through these questions. This is the exact same PDF that you're able to download. I'm just going to be taking one section at a time. So number one, I want to actually, before we jump into number one, I want to tell you one thing. You'll see underneath the question or the statement on number one, a reference number and a learning objective. So REF is reference. That's the page in the textbook that's referenced to, and then the learning objective that it's referencing. So you can turn immediately to that page. The learning objectives are at the beginning of the chapter, but they're not so important. I put them in there just to be able to help you out, but the reference page is the big one. You can turn right to that page if you have any questions about what I'm talking about. Now, is an arrest considered a seizure? Absolutely. Just like you would seize property, seizing a person is essentially the same thing. That's why an arrest is a seizure. That's why it's also covered under the Fourth Amendment. The Fourth Amendment is a search and seizure amendment, and we get a lot of case law out of the Fourth Amendment, mostly, almost not exclusively, but I would say a vast majority of the case law that we have regarding the Fourth Amendment comes out of dope and guns, as just the way it is. And as you look at search and seizure type case law, just you're going to see those two things that are common. Now, number two, the minimum legal standards for police to detain. And while we're at it, we'll also cover the next one that allows police the power to arrest. So we have reasonable suspicion, which is the lowest level. It's more than a hunch and less than probable cause. Probable cause is there's cause to believe that it's probable, not 100%, not beyond a reasonable doubt, but probable that this law was broken, whatever they're being arrested for. And what makes it probable? Well, if you look at something where it goes from 0 to 100, if you were to draw a number line from 0 to 100, 0% being absolutely did not happen, 100% absolutely did happen, and smack in the middle is 50%. So probable, more likely than not, would be 50.1%. So 50.1%. Now, reasonable suspicion, something more than 0, but less than 50.1. Specific facts that you can articulate, that you can write down, that you can explain to someone else, this is what was going on. Not, he looks suspicious, or I stopped him because he was acting suspiciously, or I thought he might be involved in criminal activity. How about this as an example of reasonable suspicion? It's 3 a.m. You're on uniform patrol in a marked police car. You're in uniform patrol. You're in a marked police car. It's in an area of a mini mall where there's a like the little small shopping center where there's a Vons grocery store, and you walk or drive behind the Vons grocery store, those service alleys that run behind the businesses, and lo and behold, at 3 a.m, there's a man walking along, and he's walking close to the building, and he has a screwdriver in his right rear pocket. Now, I take away the screwdriver. Take away the fact that he's walking next to the building. He could be as far away from the building as possible. It's 3 a.m. and he's walking behind closed businesses where normally only service delivery and workers are. So what the heck is this going on? Does it seem suspicious? Yes, but it's suspicious because of specific facts, not just because it looks weird. So you can say something looks weird, but now you have to be able to break it down and go, okay, what was weird about this? Now, number 4, when can a private individual make an arrest without a warrant? Well, we consider that to be when a felony has been committed in their presence. There may be other times, but I want you to remember this one. When a felony has been committed in somebody's presence, without question, they can make an arrest. They can also do it with a misdemeanor. So if you're a loss prevention officer, security guard at a store like, I don't know, Nordstrom's, and you see somebody switching price tags, and then they pay for the lower price for the item and walk out, they committed a misdemeanor, petty theft. If they were doing shoplifting and you're working at Target, then and the person puts stuff in their jacket or in a bag that they brought in with them, and then they walk out the door past the cash registers and don't pay, well, that's shoplifting, so you could stop them. So that would be a misdemeanor that was committed in your presence. The key thing is, if there's no warrant, that the offense has to be committed in your presence. Number 5, what must an arrest be based on? Well, probable cause. We covered that. Now, is the arrest subject to the warrant requirement of the Fourth Amendment? In other words, do you have to have a warrant? The answer is, by a strict reading of the Fourth Amendment, yes, you have to have a warrant to make an arrest. And you're probably sitting there going, well, wait a second, Gary, I know lots of cops that make lots of arrests and they don't have warrants for the people. And that's true. So what happened was this: the way the law is written, the way the Fourth Amendment is written, is you must have a warrant. Now, the US Supreme Court said, well, we got to have some exceptions to this. And case law established the warrant exceptions, or exceptions to a warrant requirement that is in the Fourth Amendment. What level of force can police officers use in order to make an arrest? The force that is reasonable and necessary, reasonably necessary to effect the arrest. So if the person doesn't resist, well, then you can put handcuffs on them. If they do resist, what level of resistance are they offering? Passive resistance. You can do certain things. Active resistance, you can do certain things. They're resisting with deadly force, you can do certain things. So it's the force that is reasonably necessary in order to make the arrest. The Supreme Court, the case law on this is People versus Wren, W-H-R-E-N. And what happened with that case, in essence, was this: officers, plainclothes officers, saw what they thought was a narcotics transaction. And guess what? It was. Oh, wait, Fourth Amendment, case law, narcotics case. I know, you're shocked. So these two guys were sitting in a pickup truck at a stop sign, and they were there for a long period of time, like 20, 30 seconds. Nobody sits at a stop sign for that long. And it looked like they were doing, the hand motions indicated they were doing a hand-to-hand transaction in the cab of the pickup truck. Could one have been offering the other one a couple of Tic Tacs or a piece of gum? Sure, could have been. So what the officers did, the vice detectives did, is they couldn't tell what exactly was going on. So they found a reason to stop them, which was a violation of the vehicle code. And off the top of my head, I don't remember what it was. Let's say it was a tail light out or a brake light out, expired registration, any of the vehicle code violations. Doesn't matter what they are. The thing is that's an objective reason to stop the person. A law has been broken. Reasonable suspicion that a law has been broken. They actually had probable cause for that violation, not just reasonable suspicion, but we already discussed reasonable suspicion is the minimum. So they made the stop. While they were on the stop, they developed more information, which ultimately led to a narcotics arrest. And the defense at that time raised the issue, well, the normal plainclothes vice detective would never have made a stop for that violation. Therefore, they shouldn't have stopped us. And therefore, you have to ignore the narcotics that you found. It should be suppressed. And the US Supreme Court said, no, if any officer could have made this stop, not would have, but could have made this stop, then it's a violation of the law. It's reasonable suspicion. They can be detained. So that's People versus Wren. And the answer is this: Supreme Court has ruled that the motive of an officer for stopping a vehicle is irrelevant. It does not matter as long as there's an objective basis for the stop. So these are called pretext stops. It's a pretextual basis. We're stopping you for a taillight out, but we really want to know if you've got dope in the car. It's a pretext. We don't really care about the taillight out. We care about the dope in the car. However, the legal violation is that we're stopping you for is the taillight out. So it's irrelevant as long as there's an objective basis for the stop. Number 8, to conduct a stop and frisk. Now, stop and frisk is also known as a Terry stop, Terry. Terry is a case law. It talks about when you can stop and detain someone and when you can do a pat down. I'm going to cough here. Excuse me. Now, to stop someone, we've already covered this, you have to have C, reasonable suspicion that criminal activity is afoot. Remember, criminal activity has occurred, is occurring, or is about to occur. The slang term for that is criminal activity is afoot. It's a term that's been used. It was fancy back in the day, and it's grown out of use today. But if you see that criminal activity is afoot, that means it's going on. Now, so reasonable suspicion. The purpose of a frisk, being able to do a limited pat down of the outer clothing, it's always for weapons. We're looking for weapons. It's a safety pat down. Now, if we happen to feel what we recognize by plain feel doctrine as contraband of some sort. For example, if I pat somebody down for weapons and I feel a baggie of pieces of rock cocaine, or what I believe based on how it feels to be rock cocaine, or a pipe that would be used to smoke methamphetamine or to smoke cocaine, then that's contraband. Therefore, I can stop at that point, detain them for that. And I got to figure out, do I need consent to get into their pockets to search them? It's a search. I need to find some way to get in their pockets. I either need to arrest them and then search them incident to arrest, or ask for their consent and then go into their pocket based on consent. All right, number 10, I'm gonna have to bounce between 2 pages here. To make an arrest, police must always have, oh, there you go. See, probable cause. It's been asked multiple times. Why is reasonable suspicion and probable cause being asked so many times? Because it's important. Because it's like, no matter how you get asked this stuff, you have to know this. You don't know this, you lose your job and you get sued and you get put in jail for violating somebody's civil rights. Yeah, it's that big of a deal. Okay, that's it for chapter 4. I'm gonna stop the screen share and stop this video, and we'll be back with chapter 5.